Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Apologize for starting our meeting 5 minutes late this evening, but we did have a crucial meeting, closed session prior to this, so thank you for your patience. We'll begin, first of all, with the invocation by my friend Mary Lou Stevens from, I started to say Patty A. Clay from Baptist Health. Good to see you, Mary Lou.
I have the privilege this evening of giving the invocation to the City Council. Please pray with me as I ask God to join with us. Gracious and loving God, we give you thanks for the city of Richmond, the place that we call home. We give you thanks for the leaders who have given of their time, their interest, and their energy to be in decision-making places on our behalf. So tonight we ask you, oh God, to just come. Be the source of wisdom, be the source of courage, be the source of encouragement to them as they make decisions. Help them always to keep in mind to have justice tempered with mercy and to think of compassion as the underlying principle for all that we do in love. So Lord Jesus and Heavenly Father, come and be with us, we pray, as decisions are made on our behalf. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mary Lou. We are honored to have a local U.S. Armed Forces veteran with us again to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Colonel Judy A. Green Baker, United States Army, retired as a graduate of Madison Central High School, University of Kentucky, and Eastern Kentucky University. She was licensed as a registered nurse in May of 1975 and joined the Kentucky Army National Guard in January 1986 as a second lieutenant. Shortly thereafter, she began working full-time for the Kentucky Army National Guard. Colonel Green Baker was the chair of the Military Science Department at EKU and ROTC Battalion Commander in 1998-1999. She retired in 2013 from the United States Reserves after completing almost 28 years of service. After retirement, Colonel Green Baker has volunteered countless hours to serving others in her community. Thank you, Judy, for leading tonight our Pledge of Allegiance. Colonel Green Baker.
Good evening, everyone. Stand with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
We'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Newby.
Here.
Commissioner Brewer.
Here.
Commissioner Cole.
Here.
Commissioner Goebel.
Here.
Mayor Bly.
Here, thank you. We'll begin with presentations tonight, a couple of them. And I'll ask David Stipes, Executive Director of the Richmond Industrial Development Corporation, to come and present our industrial and small businesses to be recognized tonight.
Thank you, Mayor and City Commissioners and all of you in the audience. Appreciate the opportunity to recognize some businesses that are a part of Richmond and what we do. They're quite different in size and scope, but they're very important to the economic development here in the city of Richmond, and they're much appreciated. I'm going to do the industrial presentation and also the small business presentation. Carrie Hensley would normally do the small business presentation on behalf of the city, but she's out of town and asked me to do that. First up, I want to introduce the industrial business, Asahi Forge of America, or what we call locally out in the industrial park, we call it AFA. I'd like to call up Mark Gabbard, who is representing AFA with us tonight. Mark's got his uniform on, and they wear uniforms out at these plants. Even the people in the management team wear uniforms to show their dedication to the work, and it's much appreciated. They are located in Richmond Industrial Park off of Duncannon Lane in what we call Industrial Park number 2, And they're part of the Asahi Forge Group that has built 3 plants in that industrial park. This is the very first one they built. And so I guess without further ado, I ask Mark Gabbard to say a few words about the company.
Well, good evening. Thank you all for inviting us here and recognizing us as part of the industrial team here in Richmond, Kentucky. Following David is trying to say something about the company. He already covered it all. I have been with the company since we opened the doors for about almost 21 years now, and seen a lot of growth in our company. We've expanded our building twice. We've also built 2 additional facilities just up the street from where our original building is. They're all 3 thriving, doing a very good job, a good business, and that's a big part of what City of Richmond does. Mayor Blythe and our city manager, David, and the industrial committee, we appreciate that very much. And we're just honored to be here, and thank you for recognizing us, and hopefully many more years to come.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, Mark. And before you take off, we want to get your picture with the mayor here just in a minute, okay? If you don't mind, Mayor, you okay with that? Or any of the rest of the commissioners would like to have their picture too, we'll take it down here before they take off. He may not be able to stay for the rest of the meeting. Next up on our small business recognition, we have a small business with us that's recently opened here in Richmond down on Water Street. It's called the White Rabbit Record and Skate Shop. You see the sign there? I visited that business today and got acquainted with them, and very nice inside. Got a lot of albums on the wall, a lot of things, a lot of memorabilia, and glad to have them a part of our Richmond business community. Representing White Rabbit Record and Skate Shop was Zachary Hensley, the owner, but Zachary's tied up in traffic down on I-75 in Corbin and could not get here. But he sent his associate with us, Jonathan Elliott. And Jonathan, if you'll come up to the podium and say a few words about your business, I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for recognizing
Welcome,
us.
sir.
I grew up, raised here in Richmond, Kentucky. So to have something like this in our town means a whole lot to me. Me and Zach both were touring musicians. We actually met when we were teenagers. They established the first store down in Corbin, Kentucky in 2020. During the pandemic and everything, they were able to thrive. Last year, he called me up and said, hey, I want to open another store and I want to do it in Richmond. And I said, let's go. So we've been working on it since about October of last year. Finally opened the doors, been open close to a month now. We offer records, eventually skateboards. Our inventory has been floating in the shipping ether for about 3 weeks now, as well as toys, collectibles, and local art. And one thing we try to provide is records for anyone and everyone. So if you want to walk in there and find a Loretta Lynn record, we hope we have it. If you want to walk in there and find the heaviest metal band you can find, we hope we have it. We just want to be a safe space for the community, for everybody, just a place where you can just come, hang out, have a good time, relax, and find some good music and meet some cool people.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you, David.
Would you have time to snap a quick picture
sir.
with them before, they may not be able to stay for the rest of the meeting. I'd appreciate that. Kelly, you, Mark, you want to? Any of y'all welcome to join if you'd like.
Yes, that's good.
I used to go over on Saturday nights when they were playing years ago, and I would go because I could scream and holler, Rob. I could holler, hook him, and nobody would think I was crazy. No, they would. All righty. We have in our packet for tonight's meeting the regular meeting minutes from May 14, 6 p.m. Let me say this to those who are here in the chambers. If you'd like to have a copy of the agenda, there are agendas right there in the little pocket. You can just take one of those if you so desire. Had a chance to look over those minutes. May we have a motion, please, that we'll accept them as presented?
So moved.
Commissioner Goble?
Second.
Commissioner Brewer, are there any questions, corrections, comments? There being none, Madam Clerk, please.
Commissioner Brewer,
Yes.
Commissioner Cole,
Yes.
Commissioner Goble,
Yes.
Commissioner Newby,
Yes.
Mayor Bly.
Yes, thank you. Order 24-61, an order of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Richmond, Kentucky, promoting a police officer to sergeant. Madam Clerk, please.
Whereas the City of Richmond has a policy of promoting police officers for the position of sergeant, whereas this officer has successfully completed the promotional process, which has consisted of a written exam, self-evaluation, leadership assessment scored by an outside agency, and an oral interview conducted before a selection panel. Whereas the city manager has recommended the promotion of this employee. Now therefore be it ordered by the City of Richmond Board of Commissioners that the following patrol officer is hereby promoted to sergeant effective June 10th, 2024. Rob Hess, hire date 10/2/23. As a safeguard against the promotion of employees beyond their capability, all newly promoted employees will serve a probationary period of 12 months of continuous service. The probationary period may be extended for a period of 6 months upon recommendation by the Chief of Police and agreement by the City Manager. Officers promoted to the rank of sergeant will not commence their probationary period until they have completed the Academy of Police Supervision Training course at DOCJT. This order shall become effective immediately upon its adoption by the City of Richmond Board of Commissioners.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That's Order 24-61. May we have a motion, please, to adopt?
So moved.
Commissioner Brewer?
Second.
Commissioner Cole. Is there any discussion? There were 4 things you read there that they had to successfully complete. I guess 1 out of 4 ain't bad.
I know it's coming.
Yes, indeed. I'm terribly pleased tonight. I mean that seriously. No further discussion. Madam Clerk, please.
Commissioner Cole,
Yes.
Commissioner Goble,
Yes.
Commissioner Newby,
Yes.
Commissioner Brewer,
Yes.
Mayor Bly.
Yes, thank you. This time, Chief, if you'll come and assist us in the pinning ceremony as we now further acknowledge this promotion.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, appreciate it. I doubt that Rob needs any introduction. But we are, like the Mayor said, on a serious note, we are very fortunate to have him back doing what I feel like, honestly, he was made to do. Some people, it's a calling. Some people do this as a job and a career, and some people are very passionate about it, and they just fit in. And Sergeant Hess is one of those people. So the city and the police department are very appreciative that he's here, and I know he'll do great in this journey of leadership. So if Sergeant Hess and his son Maddox and his girlfriend Shayna could come up. So what we generally do, this for those who this is the first time they've seen something like this, we like to signify the promotion by the pinning of his new rank, and he's asked that his son and his girlfriend be present to do that. So without further being said, please go ahead and pin Sergeant Hess on his new rank, please. Oh, he's good, trust me. Good job, buddy. Thank y'all very much, and I think, Hess, I think you got to say something. Come up here, you come to the mic, though, so they can hear you.
Now, you know what happened the last time we tried that.
I won't take too much of your time. I know this is kind of unorthodox. I mean, there's not enough time in the world to thank everybody up here, Mr. Mayor specifically, Chief Richardson, for allowing me to come back and allowing me to join this process, even though I came back in October. I want to give an even bigger shout. Lieutenant Stokes, Dan Kirsten, officers that trained me in my career, officers that I've recently trained in the beginning of theirs. I never thought this day would come, to be perfectly honest. I didn't think I'd even be allowed to even be in front of a microphone, let alone wear a gold shield, but I hope to make the city proud. Like Chief said, I am very passionate about this job. This is my hometown. I'm very passionate from the bottom to the top, and I'm very thankful for this opportunity, and I won't let you guys down. Thank you all very much.
Commission will stand, close ranks here. Make a nice picture. Thank you.
Congratulations, yes, sir. Your next job is to do that pledge again. Ordinance 24-09, an ordinance of the City of Richmond, Kentucky, changing the zoning classification for property located at Lantern Ridge Drive, Richmond Center, Parcel 1, within the city limits. This is a first reading. We will not vote. Mr. Attorney, please.
Whereas Sonny Joseph, owner, has filed with the Richmond Planning and Zoning Commission an application for a zoning map amendment at Lantern Ridge Drive, Richmond Center, Parcel 1, 15.8 acres in Richmond, Kentucky. And whereas the property is currently zoned B3 Highway Business and requesting change to R3 Multifamily Residential. Whereas the Planning and Zoning Commission conducted a public hearing on the requested zone change on May 15, 2024, in the course of which it received evidence and testimonies from persons in favor of and opposed to the requested zone change. And whereas at the conclusion of the public hearing, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted to recommend that the zone change be granted. Whereas the Planning and Zoning Commission at its meeting adopted written findings of fact as to the zone change, and the issue is now before the Board of Commissioners for final determination. And whereas the Board of Commissioners believes it to be in the public interest that it adopts the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission in accordance with the findings adopted by that body. Now, therefore, be it ordained that the Board of Commissioners does hereby adopt the recommendation of the Richmond Planning and Zoning Commission as to the requested zone change. The property in question, located in Richmond, Madison County, Kentucky, as to which the zone change shall apply, is Lantern Ridge Drive, Richmond Center, Parcel 1, 15.8 acres, Richmond, Kentucky, Deed Book 768, page 206. The Board of Commissioners does hereby adopt the written findings of fact adopted by the Planning and Zoning Commission as its findings of fact. The findings and zoning of the said property, Parcel 1 in Richmond Center, shall be and hereby is changed from B3 Highway Business and changed to R3 Multifamily Residential. The Director of Planning and Zoning shall make the appropriate changes to the official map of the City of Richmond, Kentucky. This ordinance shall be effective immediately upon its enactment following second reading and publication in accordance with the requirements of applicable Kentucky law.
Thank you, sir. Ordinance 24-09 heard its reading. May we have a motion, please, as we do not vote tonight again. May we have a motion, please, to bring to the floor for discussion.
So moved.
All right. Commissioner Cole, Commissioner
Second.
Goebel. Is there any discussion? Anything that you want to present, Mr. Attorney, Mr. City Manager, anything at this point?
Is that the, Mayor?
Yes, sir,
Is that the
please.
property that was for hotel, that 15 acres? Is that
Yes.
was zoned for a hotel?
Yes, yes.
So just a question, where would the entrance exit, I mean, what's the proposed, for these developments? Sure,
Yes,
sure,
if you
sure.
would, please.
The property is on B3, hotel, office building, anything that could be constructed in the B3 zone could be constructed there.
Right.
Our presentation before the Planning Commission indicated that the plan submitted at the time Richmond Center was approved showed 2 hotels and 2 office buildings on this tract. That's what was utilized in order to formulate the studies that were done as part of the Richmond Center. Mr. Adams is circulating what he intends to do on this property now. You notice that Sonny Joseph was listed as he is the current property owner. Mr. Adams and Signature Rentals has a contract to purchase that from Mr. Joseph if this request is successful. Mr. Newby, your question was?
As far as, the layout, the entrance,
Okay.
egress areas.
You'll go past Olive Garden, the tire store, and just keep on going around that way. And this tract is in essence kind of what I call behind the Richmond Center. So it runs right along the interstate.
So will the entrance be from Goggins Lane or right there across from Deacon Hills and Idlewild?
Any of those entrances into the center would provide you access to this property, and I
But you're
believe there are
not
5.
making if you don't mind, there was a letter that circulated around that the exit to come out of this property was going to go through Brookline subdivision, and I asked Eric, I said, and there's no truth to that, is there?
That is not correct.
There's never been written out there.
We have never intended to do that. The plat does show an easement from this property into Brookline, which you all probably required when you approved the Brookline plat.
Right.
But as part of the motion made to approve this, one of the conditions was that we terminate that easement and that there be no access from this property into Brookline. And we really only impact about 3 or 4 lots in Brookline. This property is wide behind the center. It narrows, and it only abuts 3 or 4 of the lots behind the Brookline property.
And really, any of the entrances into the Richmond Center would take you to this
That's correct.
parcel of land.
That's
once
correct.
it's developed, right? And then you exit, you would just come out, whichever one of the, was there 4 exits?
There are 5 exits into that. We presented at the hearing that it was anticipated that there would be 500-something cars with the approval that was done when Richmond Center was developed. And we propose to reduce that by at least 100 cars daily if what we're asking today is done.
My concern is the traffic, and the infrastructure there. I mean, as of now, you've got the traffic going out there. And it used to be just the mornings or the evenings, but now it's all day. You got traffic backed up all the way to the stadium. Then you have exit ramps from the interstate feeding it. Coming into town, somebody making a left turn on the Goggins, it backs up traffic to Curtis Pike. And we've got a lot of things coming on Goggins. We've got a school, we've got the park, we've got developments on the other end of Goggins. My concern is just adding more traffic onto, and I'm not all about growth. I'm all for growth. When growth takes a dump on what's already there, that's my concern.
So we're going to actually reduce the traffic that could be in and out of the property if it is developed for its current zone. The traffic count that they utilized when they submitted the Richmond Center plans for the hotels and office buildings reflected 519 cars daily. We're going to reduce that by about 100 a day. So we'll actually reduce traffic from what could be coming and going as a B3 zone. The other thing, it was presented at the Planning Commission meeting by Mr. Causey. The state is in the process and has in their very, I don't want to use the word short plans because the state never works immediately, but in their short plan, that they're going to put another exit ramp off the interstate. They're going to widen Barnes Mill out to Goggins. They're going to do a number of things. I'm told that Mr. Causey and the county planning director have met with them on a number of occasions, that the state itself did not know the volume of traffic that flows, and so they have it in their plans to do something about that immediately. But the
And
most,
I've heard that as well, widening it, but 45 years ago, when the state came through, Barnesville used to be really small, and they widened it, eminent domain. And practically now, the people that live across from the church, they can pretty much spit on the road from their sidewalk. And then I've also heard a roundabout, I don't know, proposed around the church. And my problem with that is, when I was a little fella in Boy Scouts, we met there at church. Then after church, we played in the fields behind it, and back where the farms are already, going to be built. There's a huge graveyard back there, and and the tombstones are gone. But if we go in there and we start digging up coffins, we've got a whole other set of issues.
I don't think first of all, I think all that's going to occur whether we do this or not.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's
Okay.
why I'm saying all this is.
Yes.
I just don't want anything more.
Okay.
Adding on to what's coming.
The point I'd like to make is we're going to reduce the traffic flow that could occur given its current zone if it's rezoned to what we're going to do because of the number of units that we plan to build there.
Okay, thank you.
I had 2 points that I just want to get clarification on and make sure that I have this right in my mind. And some of this is just stemming from some of the questions that constituents had. So when you think about the easement that goes into Goggins, it's my understanding that the motion that we're doing here has nothing to do with creating that was created years ago by another commission, by another planning and zoning, by another board. Is that true? And that may be a question for our city attorney, but we're not creating that in any way, right?
We are not creating that, just the opposite. We are terminating that. Can I approach the?
Sure, yes. So if we, and I know we're not voting tonight, but this would actually terminate that easement into is it Brookline? Yeah, into Brookline, right?
That is the Brookline plat, and that easement was probably placed on that plat as a matter of connectivity in case this property ultimately got developed and you all wanted it to be connected. The motion made by the Planning Commission members to approve this was conditioned on our agreement to do away with that easement completely. So we will, if this is approved, Mr. Frazier and I will be drafting the documents to terminate that easement. It will be no more.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that point because there's been some confusion around that in the community. And the other thing that I want to just make sure that I'm clear on and that, we try to provide clarity on is this is not zoned for farmland right now. This was zoned way back when Richmond Center was created or at some point in time by another commission, by another planning and zoning board as, I think, highway business.
Correct.
So to think that there's not going to be any traffic out there is not going to happen because it's already zoned for highway business. So that would create traffic as well. So did you have some numbers that you could share just in terms of?
We went to the documents that were submitted when Richmond Center was approved. That exhibit was part of the Richmond Center traffic study that was done, and it was anticipated by that study that there would be 519 cars coming and going from that property if it's developed as was proposed. I'm sorry, 591. Mr. Adams reminded me, I've got the 1 and the 9 transposed. We are proposing about 420, I said 100, actually 170 less cars per day than if that were fully developed the way it was anticipated when Richmond Center was approved.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding and answering those questions appropriately. Thank you.
Just one thing, a personal concern. Richmond Center has several vacancies. Any comment on how having almost, in all seriousness, a built-in customer base, has that been?
So as part of Richmond Center's documentation, they are required to be consulted when anyone asks to change the zoning for that property. We did that, and as part of those, we have a consent document. I have it here that's now been fully signed by Richmond Center and their anchor tenants where they approve the zone change for this property, if you all will. And basically, they have invited us. They think it would be good. We think it would be good for the center. And frankly, in terms of traffic, we think, and you all get training on these issues about mixed-use developments, if these folks are there, they can buy groceries and drugs and clothing and tires. They can go to the movie theater. They can eat. They can shop. They can do a lot of the things that they need to do right there in the center. If these same units and the demand is there, Mr. Adams put on a presentation before the Planning Commission that he has a waiting list that are months long for folks to get into his units. So if these folks are placed down the new bypass somewhere or somewhere else, they're going to have to drive back and forth up and down the bypass. If they're here, they can either drive without leaving the center or walk or bike to many of the things that are there in the center. So not only do we think we're going to cut down the number of cars that are going to be there, we're probably, in addition, going to cut down the number of trips that those cars make outside the center on Barnes Mill and Goggins.
And could conceivably enhance the business atmosphere there for the center, hopefully.
Yes, we hope so. And the center thinks so in the course of our communication with them.
Any further discussion? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Good to see you.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Can we keep these, or do you need these back?
You can keep those? These? Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Ordinance 24-10, an ordinance of the City of Richmond, Kentucky, repealing Section 150.001 in its entirety. This is a first reading also. We will not vote. Mr. Attorney, please.
Whereas in 2017, the city last amended Section 150.001 in an effort to control, deter, and abate the danger of fire spread in downtown. However, after further review, it has been deemed ineffective and overburdensome by city officials, city codes enforcement, and state codes officials. Whereas now the Richmond City Board of Commissioners believes that Section 150.001 has placed an undue burden on citizens and the Codes Department, and believes it is in the public interest that the ordinance be repealed in its entirety. Now, therefore, be it ordained and enacted by the Richmond City Board of Commissioners that Section 150.001 of the Codes of Ordinance of the City of Richmond is repealed in its entirety. This ordinance shall become effective immediately upon enactment, following second reading and publication in accordance with the requirements of applicable Kentucky law.
Thank you, sir. That's ordinance 24-10. May we have a motion, please, to bring to the floor for discussion?
I move.
Second.
Commissioner Newby, Commissioner Goble. Is there any discussion? And Mr. City Manager, Mr. Attorney, would you?
I would just say, Mayor, that this came about from a downtown building owner, and he was renovating a smaller space in some of the larger buildings like the Glendon or the Elks building, that with that size of square footage, you're required to have sprinklers. After reviewing and being contacted by the state, we realized that our downtown fire corridor is much more stringent than the state code. So we feel like we can repeal this ordinance and implement the state fire code for downtown areas. And that will help with smaller square footage buildings being able to be renovated. There'll be less cost to do it because they don't have to do a sprinkler system above a certain square foot.
But locally, in our home rule, locally, we can be more stringent. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
We can be.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
And this was passed back in what, 2017?
Commissioner Brewer?
What concerns me is the word entirely. So we're gonna take out all of our,
No, what it would repeal is the fire corridor. It
just the
would-
downtown corridor.
The downtown fire corridor. It does not affect the state code, which we've already adopted, and that's what the state is saying, where we're duplicative and it's no longer necessary. And that is from the state codes official.
What about the businesses that have already followed our codes?
Well, they're in
I mean,
good
what
shape
does that-
according to our current code.
They're protected more so.
They're probably all larger, aren't they, than what's under
I was
consideration?
certainly
thinking
are.
about
And-
Purdy's, I was thinking about Second and Main, and I don't know, is this our second reading, right?
No, this is
First?
This is first.
We had the state reach out to us, and that individual spoke to Tyler, and the state feels like, and to the mayor's point, we are home rule, so we can be more stringent. You have that flexibility. But one of the building owners downtown contacted the state, and the state contacted us, and they felt like it was overkill. And so that's why we're bringing it to you to repeal and replace with the state code.
Explain to me what the overkill is.
It has to do with smaller square footage buildings required to be sprinkled. So sprinkler systems are very expensive. You get into a property like the Glendon or the Elks Club or Paddy Wagon, even at the state code, they have to be sprinkled because of the size of them. When you get into some smaller buildings, if they still will use non-combustible material, it's not necessary for them to be sprinkled. It's the way I understand it. Now, I don't want to get too far in the weeds and speak out of
So
term here.
if they renovate with non-combustible material, depending on their square footage, then they don't have to have a sprinkler system. That's what we're dealing with, right?
That's the way it is currently set up. That is.
That's us.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes.
And the state requires what?
Well, it requires meeting certain fire ratings, but it does not require metal studs, certain non-combustible materials. It's just about the fire ratings to deter the spread of the fire. But that's really where it comes down.
And we would not find ourselves liable in case of any disaster. I mean, can anybody come back on us and say, well, you didn't regulate that to the?
No, sir. No, sir, because it would fall under the state code.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, we'll have our second reading in our next regular meeting or special call.
Ordered by the City of Richmond Board of Commissioners that the City of Richmond shall commit funds to Madison Home for the Homeless Shelter Project Fund in the amount of $250,000. These ARPA expenditures will be incorporated by fiscal year '25 budget ordinance. This order shall be in full force and effect upon reading and adoption by the City of Richmond Board of Commissioners.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That's Order 24-62. May we have a motion, please, to bring to the floor for discussion and approval?
So moved.
Commissioner Goble,
Second.
Commissioner Newby. Is there any discussion?
I had a question.
Yes.
And I didn't, when you read that, I didn't explicitly hear it, but I just want a clarification. Because when we did our work session, we were encumbering that money for them, but it was to be used for matching funds for future grants. So does that wording need to go in what we
I
just
think
read?
that was for the Rails to Trails program, wasn't it?
I thought it was that
Yeah.
in Rich, but we
Well, that-
haven't put this on them, and I agree with you. If you're gonna give this kind of money, I think we need to
We can certainly put that language in.
have some
That's
kind
no
of
think we did
language.
talk
that-
about
We did. We
Okay.
discussed it. I had the impression that $250,000 was going to be matching funds.
Okay, so before they can utilize any of that $250,000, they need to match that amount.
We had talked about a dollar for dollar match.
Right,
So
okay.
is
We-
that what you all thought? That's what I thought.
It seems like a lot of money that they're gonna have to come up with, I get that, but I don't know.
Well,
I
when-
think there should be some matching somehow.
When the ARPA money runs out,
It's going,
I mean, that's the end of it. And,
That's right.
I mean,
And the
even
clock
in
is
our
ticking on
budget,
that aspect of it.
right.
Yeah, that's one piece of it. That's a good point, Mayor. You know, we have to have it earmarked by the end of this year and spent by
Yeah.
2026, which this is earmarking it right now, so.
One other thing here. Do we have their budget on file?
We do.
Thank you.
And $250,000 with their projections covers about half of their annual budget.
So then they would have the matching funds. So if we're doing half of it, then the matching funds would be there, right?
I don't know how much money they've raised or what they have.
Okay.
I know the budget they're projecting is over $500,000 for the year. I don't know if they have those funds available or not.
Commissioner
I
Cole,
mean, can we see that?
when you say matching funds, do you mean they have to match this money or use this money for their matching funds in grants they would have?
That was
no,
my
no,
hope.
no.
My hope is that they're writing grants and trying to get additional grant funding and not just depending upon ARPA money that's going to run out, because that's going to be gone. And I want them to always be here and be self-sufficient. So I want us to help them, to secure other funding and not just, ARPA money's
Well,
going to be gone.
our money would run out too.
Well, I think in the presentation they said they were hiring a grant writer. So I think that they're
That's
headed
right.
in the right direction. But we can certainly put in the language moving forward July 1st that it's matching funds. I don't have any problem doing that.
Oh, yeah.
If that's the
July
consensus
1st
of the
this year.
board. Yeah.
We can't read minds, but I would hope, I'll say it this way, that there's not anticipation that in the next fiscal year, there would be this kind of consideration, because that means there would be a direct hit
Right.
to our budget.
And I've spoken to them about that, absolutely. Enrich as well.
Thank you, thank
Yep.
you. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please.
Commissioner Brewer,
Yes.
Commissioner Cole,
Yes.
Commissioner Goble,
Yes.
Commissioner Newby,
Yes.
Mayor Blythe.
Yes, thank you. Order 24-63, order of the City of Richmond approving the execution of a municipal aid co-op program contract between the City of Richmond, Kentucky and the Commonwealth of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, Department of Rural and Municipal Aid for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024, as provided in the Kentucky Revised Statutes, and accepting all streets referred to therein as being streets which are a part of the city. Mr. Attorney, please.
Whereas the City of Richmond is a participant in the Municipal Road Aid Program, and whereas the Commonwealth of Kentucky requires the execution of a contract on a yearly basis for acceptance of the terms and conditions of the contract in order to receive the municipal road aid funds, now therefore be it ordered by the City of Richmond Board of Commissioners that, Section 1, the City of Richmond does hereby accept all streets referred to in said contract as being streets which are part of the incorporated area. And 2, the City of Richmond does hereby ratify and adopt all statements, representations, warranties, covenants, and agreements contained in said contract, and does hereby accept said contract, and by such acceptance agrees to all the terms and conditions therein stated. The 2024 through 2025 contract shall become a permanent part of this order. This order shall be in full force and effect upon reading and adoption by the City of Richmond Board of Commissioners.
Thank you, sir. That's order 24-63. May we have a motion, please, bring the floor for discussion and approval?
So moved.
Commissioner Cole,
Second.
Commissioner Goble, is there any discussion?
I would just say, Mayor, this is a 7.7% fuel tax we get locally. We get this every year from the state, and it goes towards paving roads, fixing roads, signs. And it's actually up this year from last year.
All righty. Any further discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please.
Commissioner Cole,
Yes.
Commissioner Goble,
Yes.
Commissioner Newby,
Yes.
Commissioner Brewer,
Yes.
Mayor Blythe.
Yes, thank you. Order 24-64, an order of the City of Richmond hiring 2 police officers. Madam Clerk, please.
And whereas the City of Richmond is in need of police officers to meet the needs of the citizens of Richmond, whereas a recommendation for hiring has been made by Police Chief Richardson. Now therefore be it ordered by the City of Richmond Board of Commissioners that the following individuals are hired as a police officer for the City of Richmond contingent on a satisfactory completion of all requisite background checks. Pay will be based off the approved fiscal year 24 police scale. Ian Cowden, Patrol Officer, effective June 3rd, 2024. Shane Adelman, Patrol Officer, effective June 10th, 2024. This order shall be effective immediately upon its adoption by the City of Richmond Board of Commissioners.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That's order 24-64. May we have a motion, please, bring to the floor for discussion and approval?
I move.
Commissioner Newby,
Second.
Commissioner Brewer. Is there any discussion? Chief, if you would, please, I believe, yes, sir. He's present tonight.
I appreciate it. Thank you all. Ian is here tonight. Of course, I like to bring him here to introduce him so you know, you can put a name with a face. But Shane wasn't able to make it. He's relocating currently from North Dakota, where he's been an officer for 8 years. But Shane comes from Kauai, is that right? Kauai, Hawaii? Kauai, okay. Where he's been a police officer for 3 years. He's here with his wife and his 2 little ones, so they're relocating back to Richmond and will be serving our citizens. But, you know, this is, I think it's pretty significant to say that we've got officers from North Dakota and Hawaii wanting to come here and work in Richmond. That says a lot about this town and community. So, you know, I think it's a huge benefit, and some of the things and changes that you all have made in the past has made this come true. I mean, this is helping us a lot. But Ian, if you would stand, please. This is Ian Cowden. If you see him out and about, I think you'll know at least who you're seeing and what his name is.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Welcome, Ian. Any further discussion? We haven't voted on, Madam Clerk, please.
Commissioner Goble?
Yes.
Commissioner Newby?
Yes.
Commissioner Brewer?
Yes.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
Mayor Blige?
Yes, thank you. Order 24-65, an order of the City of Richmond approving a change order for the Lake Reba Pickleball Venue Project. Mr. City Manager, please.
Whereas the city has started construction on the pickleball courts at Lake Reba, and whereas Bell Engineering has submitted change order number 1 for consideration and authorizing the mayor to sign agreement on behalf of the city, whereas the city commission has reviewed the agreement and made a recommendation to move forward with the project, now therefore be ordered that the City of Richmond Board of Commissioners authorize the following change order for Lake Reba Pickleball Project between the City of Richmond and Blaze Enterprises. Task order number 1, increase fence height from 6 feet to 10 feet, $15,364. Funding for the project, pickleball court ARPA fund allocated in FY24 amended budget. The mayor is authorized to execute on behalf of the city. This order shall be effective immediately upon reading and adoption by the Board of Commissioners for the City of Richmond, Kentucky.
Thank you, sir. That's order 24-65. May we have a motion, please, bring the floor for discussion and approval?
So moved.
Commissioner Goble?
Second.
Commissioner Cole, is there any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please.
Commissioner Newby?
Yes.
Commissioner Brewer?
Yes.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
Commissioner Goble?
Yes.
Mayor Blige?
Yes, thank you. Order 24-66, order of the City of Richmond committing fiscal year 25 funds to help support the Madison County Animal Shelter. Madam Clerk, please.
Whereas the City of Richmond wishes to commit fiscal year 25 funding to the Madison County Animal Shelter in order to operate their necessary community services. Whereas by ordinance chapter 90.34 directs the City Commission to share on a 25% percentage of all expenses for the operation of the shelter and the collections of dogs by the dog warden. And whereas invoices and/or statements must be submitted for the drawdown payments. Now therefore be it ordered by the City of Richmond Board of Commissioners that the City of Richmond shall commit funds to Madison County Animal Shelter in the amount of $80,000. These non-departmental expenditures will be incorporated by fiscal year 2025 budget ordinance. This order shall be in full force and effect upon reading and adoption by the City of Richmond Board of Commissioners.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That's order 24-66. May we have a motion, please? Bring the floor for discussion and approval.
So moved.
Commissioner Goble?
Second.
Commissioner Newby, is there any discussion?
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, sir, please.
The actual budget number we have is $80,820.25. We probably need to correct this in that order. That's what's in the budget.
Would you give me that number again, please?
$80,820.25. 82025.
Thank you, sir.
Now,
Yes.
now with this, are they gonna be picking up and helping animals in the city limits of Richmond?
They will as they can. We're working towards that. I think the email is attached to this order, but even with us participating, the message I got from the deputy judge was that they still weren't sure if they could fulfill our request with animals being dropped off or picked up. I know that Jason Rollins with our codes enforcement group has a good working relationship with their person out there, and when we get into a bind, they help us out. But the idea is, and I think Judge Taylor mentioned in his state of the county that they were going to be building a new animal shelter, and we have that animal control position posted right now, have a compliance truck, so I think we're moving forward like we need to.
move forward to know that we're all compatible?
I don't know.
So we have a truck, and we're going to do runs with that truck, right? To help the police mainly, and you said something the other day about there would be a space where we could take them temporarily, right? If it were a weekend or after hours?
Jason Rollins, and I think the chief and I have discussed this as well, on the back part of the property where the new police station's going, we may have some kennels, some temporary kennels for animals. So if our animal enforcement officer gets called out at 12 o'clock at night, they apprehend the animal, they have somewhere to take it until the shelter's opened up the next day. So that's where we're headed with it. And I think Jason Rollins has an interest in being our primary for the animal control officer. The person we get hired would be the backup, and they both would go through training for that.
All right, any further discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please.
Commissioner Brewer?
Yes.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
Commissioner Goble?
Yes.
Commissioner Newby?
Yes.
Mayor Blythe?
Yes, thank you. Order 24-67, order of the City of Richmond, Kentucky adopting an updated local emergency operation plan. Mr. Attorney, please.
Whereas KRS provisions and applicable Kentucky administrative regulations require the development and maintenance of a local emergency operations plan which sets forth the local government's organizational structure, policies, procedures, and guidelines for the management and coordination of all disaster and emergency response in Madison County and its cities. And whereas KRS provisions and applicable Kentucky administrative regulations and planning guidance issued by the Kentucky Division of Emergency Management require a local emergency operations plan to be officially approved and adopted by signed executive order of the Mayor of Richmond, Robert Blythe. And whereas the Director of Madison County Office of Emergency Management has submitted the Madison County Emergency Operations Plan to the County Judge Executive for official approval and adoption in accordance with the aforementioned laws, administrative regulations, and planning guidance. Now, therefore, be it ordered by the City of Richmond Board of Commissioners and by virtues of the powers and authorities vested by the Constitution and the laws of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and in accordance with the provisions of KRS 39A through 39F, applicable Kentucky administrative regulations, and Madison County Emergency Management Ordinance, do hereby order and direct the following. 1. Madison Local Emergency Operations Plan based on emergency support functions and updated changes is officially approved and adopted effective the date of this order as shown herein. The conveyance of official approval and adoption of the Madison County Emergency Operations Plan through the order shall remain continuously in effect from the date of this executive order as shown herein, or until superseded by a subsequent executive order promulgated in accordance with KRS provisions and applicable Kentucky administrative regulations and planning guidance issued by the Kentucky Division of Emergency Management. A copy of the official, approved, and adopted Madison County Emergency Operations Plan, including this order, shall be placed on file for public inspection during regular office hours of the Richmond office of the mayor. And the City of Richmond shall recognize the Madison County Emergency Management Agency as the City of Richmond Emergency Management Agency. This order shall take effect upon reading and passage by the City of Richmond Board of Commissioners.
Thank you, sir. That's order 24-67. May we have a motion, please, to bring to the floor for discussion and approval?
So moved.
Commissioner Cole,
Second.
Commissioner Goble. Is there any discussion?
Is this the one we normally do every year?
I don't know if it's every year, but it was updated since the census was updated, and
We voted on that, I think.
and then also the schools, they added schools. It was very minor changes. Like I said, census numbers, new schools, and they changed some terms from warhead to agent contaminated secondary waste. Warhead seems easier, but I guess it's not politically friendly.
Any further discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please.
Commissioner Cole,
Yes.
Commissioner Goble,
Yes.
Commissioner Newby,
Yes.
Commissioner Brewer,
Yes.
Mayor Bly.
Yes, thank you. Order 24-68, an order of the Board of Commissioners affirming the city to utilize gov.deals for the disposition of surplus property. Madam Clerk, please.
Whereas pursuant to ordinance chapter 34.02, deposition of surplus city personal property declares a list of property which shall be submitted monthly to the city manager and submitted to the mayor and city commission for classification as surplus property. And whereas the employee personnel policy manual pursuant to order 20-124, section 5, disposal of city property which establish methods before selling or transferring real or personal property. Whereas the city wishes to eliminate the yearly public auction and utilize other methods of disposition. Now therefore be it ordered by the City of Richmond Board of Commissioners, affirms the city participation with Gov Deals for the disposition of surplus property. Terms and obligations of the online auction service are outlined in the memorandum of understanding attached hereto. The mayor is hereby authorized to execute on behalf of the city. This order shall be in full force and effect upon reading and adoption by the City of Richmond Board of Commissioners.
Thank you, ma'am. That's Order 24-68. May we have a motion, please, bring to the floor for discussion and approval.
I move.
Commissioner Newby,
Second.
Commissioner Goble. Is there any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please.
Commissioner Goble,
Yes.
Commissioner Newby,
Yes.
Commissioner Brewer,
Yes.
Commissioner Cole,
Yes.
Mayor Bly.
Yes, thank you. Order 24-69, order of the City of Richmond determining participation in joint regional economic development grant application. Madam Clerk, please.
Whereas the city having entered into a non-binding letter of intent to participate in a joint PDI grant application, whereas the city must now determine whether to formally join the application, binding the city financial and allocate monies to the project. Whereas if voted in, the affirmative $500,000 from the City of Richmond Capital Projects Fund, currently budgeted for RIDC industrial property land option, shall be reallocated for the joint regional PDI application matching funds. Now therefore be it ordered by the City of Richmond Board of Commissioners that the City of Richmond shall or shall not formally join in the joint regional PDI grant application. This order shall be in full force and effect upon reading and adoption by the City of Richmond Board of Commissioners.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That's Order 24-69. May we have a motion, please? And am I reading this correctly? We must choose one of those, is that right?
If you explain that, you wrote that order.
Currently, in the proposed budget, there is no money allocated to
Yes.
this proposal. So that's where this $500,000 is found in the current proposed budget to be reallocated.
Now, in the wording, the shall or shall not, must we choose one as we offer the motion, then to adopt?
Well, it is written to be, if it's voted yes in the affirmative, you would be joining the application. If voted no.
So we don't need to modify that portion?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir. All right. May we have a motion, please, that we will bring this order to the floor, 2469, for discussion and approval?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Goble, Commissioner Newby. Now, is there any discussion?
I got a few questions if it's.
Yes, sir.
And let me bring these up, because I've been writing them down since I've read this. So, the $500,000 that we're sending to this is for what?
It's basically Madison, the three governments in Madison County, Fayette County, Scott County, and Georgetown Consortium for Regional Industrial Development. And what it is basically is each county can apply for up to $2 million in PDI funding. So when you put the three counties together, Fayette County couldn't fully participate because I think they used 1.2 million of theirs, so they just have 800,000. So you're looking at $4.8 million that can be applied for between the three counties. And that money has to be matched, and that money can be used towards industrial site development.
I was
Where?
under the impression that Lexington did get some more money. Was that not right?
I'm
They
not
got
sure.
$10 million given to them for business, whatever consortium.
I'm
I
pretty
saw that
sure
on there.
they may have, but I know that each year
From the
that's,
feds.
it's up to 2 million per county that you can apply for through the PDI program.
All I've
I've not
heard
heard
is
either.
that this is,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, all I've heard is that this is going to Georgetown to buy a piece of property. Is that correct?
Currently, that is the case.
So we're gonna take taxpayers' money out of here and send it to Georgetown to buy a piece of property in Georgetown to develop an industrial park when we're setting on an industrial park here on I-75 that's the golden egg. Is that what we're doing?
So
It can be stopped.
I mean, we did vote on this unanimously to be a part of this, but I feel very strongly, just because of all the, being a part of the chamber all those years, and people really do want to see us do more regionally, and they want to see us partner more. And I don't think it's something we're going to see short-term. I think it's something that we will, whatever money we put in is the amount, or, as far as percentage-wise, we would get back. But I think it's just a good effort to say everybody else is in, and so all these other people know it's not going to their town as well. Lexington and Berea or Madison County, but I think it's something that we do to, show an effort to be a team player.
I'm a team player, but I'm not focused on giving away taxpayers' money to spend in some other county when we got our industrial park here that is, as far as I'm concerned, is second to none. I don't even think that $50,000 or $500,000 from each one of us, or whatever it is, and matching is going to develop an industrial park in Georgetown. When I think, what was it? They were supposed to get $22 million, hopefully from state government. And what if
That's
that
the
doesn't
Congressman's
pan
office,
out?
isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a federal grant application
office.
for the water and sewer needed for the site, and I think that amount was $22.5 million.
What if they don't get all of that? Who comes up with the rest of that money? I'm just asking. Is that all of us, the players?
Your point's well taken. And what Commissioner Goebel mentioned a moment ago, you actually touched on the things that with the exception of one, that I wanted to bring up, that we're talking about a regional cooperative effort. The problem is, there are no guarantees. Am I right? I'm going to say
That's
this right.
correct.
There are no guarantees. And the question then is, do we want to commit Richmond budget funds, and at the same time, for me, I'm not willing to do that just for the sake of being a regional team player. So if I were to commit, it would be for other reasons, not just because the name regional is on it, because, in the meetings in which I was bad-mouthed, it was a public meeting, I was bad-mouthed by one of the participants because I had two of you as a part of that meeting, and someone decided they wanted to make that an issue and call the city of Richmond lawbreakers by having 3 members on that call. You all may not be aware of that, but I am, and so are others. But the point is, so I don't want to do it just for the sake of saying we're doing a regional project. We can do other regional projects that will have perhaps a more definite future to them. We're told by the consultant for this very proposal that We're talking 10 to 12 years. You've already said that it won't necessarily be a short-term matter, but 10 to 12 years before we realize anything. And the problem there is, if something happens that requires more funds, now, correct me if I'm wrong, you are perhaps more aware than many, but that requires more funds, that means each of the parties, each of the participating parties will have to come up with that money.
That's correct.
Which means we've got to come back to our budget, because that's the only place that money will come from, I think, at that time. So it isn't, I'm not saying no, no, no. What I'm saying is, but I want everything in front of us, because as Commissioner Brewer said, we're committing, this is not ARPA money. This is right out of our budget, and I want us to make sure that we know what we're doing as we commit, and perhaps commit even further and further and further. We just don't know. One of the other things, and this is not the being a bad player, I don't think, wherever, and from the beginning, you understand that my perspective is somewhat colored by being around the project from the day one. I do have concerns about the placing this project in another county where it's going to be necessary to put the infrastructure in place. And the reason why I have that problem is because David's sitting back there, David Stipes, we've already got the infrastructure in place. So they're having to convince me, and they know that, Dave, long in our meetings, why would we spend $22 million to put into place something that's already, if you want to come to Madison County, come to Richmond, it's already here. So that's why I've been so slow to commit you without coming to you and asking you, tell me how we go forward, how you feel you want to go forward. Now, I've said more than I wanted to say, but I needed to say that because you need to know where I stand.
I just got a couple of quick questions.
Yes, sir.
What did we, I'm starting to get a little confused. What did
And I know where you're
because I
going.
know one time we voted unanimously to join to do something. So is that unanimously
No,
to be part of something?
and that's why the beginning of this order says enter into a non-binding. You're exactly right, but we didn't commit. We committed ourselves to say, yay, this sounds like a good project, but there was no further commitment. It was for everybody involved. Fayette, Lexington, Clark was even in the conversation at the time, Clark Winchester. They're not, I don't believe, in the Richmond and Berea and Madison County, and the Scott with Georgetown. But it was non-binding. It says, it sounds like a good idea. That's the extent of it. That was the legal extent.
I guess what's confusing me is we're saying we're committing, but we're committing non-binding. It's kind of, goes against, and is the commitment to be a part of something with the option of every time something comes along, we can say yay or nay?
Well, now we're at where the rubber meets the road. And that's why they're asking us, and that's why the city manager is recommending to us, and David, perhaps you've been involved in that conversation, that now we can't just say, sounds like a good idea. This is literally put your money where your mouth is, literally. And that's what we're asking tonight is, are you willing to put the city's money where that non-binding letter was placed?
See, I look at it as putting taxpayers' money forward on something that we don't have an end amount yet. It could be $1 million this time, and then 2 years down the road, you need to give $5 million when you sign this. And I can't believe that we would want to do that without having an end in sight of how much money you want to give to this. You want to obligate the citizens of Richmond with taxpayer funding when we got a large industrial park we have right now. And we need to even address that and expand there, but we can't if we're going to keep giving money to somewhere else.
I have a comment about the way that the order is written. I've been attending the Richmond Industrial Development Corporation meetings for the most part for the past year or so since I was elected. And in the order that we have in front of us, it's taking money, it's taking the 500,000 specifically from a group that is expecting that money to help develop the Richmond Industrial Park. So this is not saying that we're taking it from the general fund in any way. This is taking that $500,000, the way it's written now and the way I interpret it, from a group that is expecting that $500,000. And David can correct me, I could be wrong. But in the last meeting, we had that conversation about our own center and the fact that we needed that $500,000 to develop it. So I'm not against a partnership. I love partnerships, but I at no time am comfortable taking that money from this specific source the way the order's written now.
And given it,
And that's because we budgeted $500,000 for industrial development. And I was given no direction on any further funding for the regional project or anything else, so that's why it's written that way.
Or to put another for example, $500,000 into the budget that we.
Right, that's what we'd have to do.
But this specifically says, and we need to be aware of that, that this, the way this is written now.
That's correct.
The $500,000 would not be spent the way that the Richmond Industrial Development Corporation thinks that it's going to be.
That's
So
correct.
this, the way this is written now is definitely a problem.
All right. Any further conversation, any further discussion?
I would just say, depending on how you all vote, I need clear direction on, if you vote yea or nay, I need clear direction on how to proceed with our budget, because Friday's the deadline for us to button this thing up. And it's a lot of work, even with the small additions or subtractions from our budget. So, depending on the vote, make sure you give me direction how to move forward.
I mean, I have to ask the mayor what our option is. I'm not really sure. The way that it's written, we're not doing good intent with our own board, because it's not taking it from the general fund. It's taking it from the Richmond Industrial Development Corporation that is expecting that money. We just had that conversation with them.
Right.
So I don't want to go back on our word with a group that is expecting that funding.
Now, let me ask you a fundamental question. Are you comfortable, irrespective of where it's proposed here to come from, are you comfortable committing $500,000 to the regional project?
Well, two things. I would like for us to have a cap on it, because I know a lot of the uneasiness is, what if they keep coming back for more and that kind of thing. So to be good stewards of the money, we have to put a cap on it. And it sounds like that cap is $500,000. So that conversation about, can they come back for more? What if they don't get this grant or that grant? That should not impact us. Whatever we do, I want us to have a cap on the money that we're joining the partnership with. Beyond that, I want us to be good partners and be regional good partners. I kind of view it as an investment in the region for the citizens of Richmond. It's almost like buying stock in a company that you believe in. I believe that our region is good, and I believe that we're stronger in numbers. But at the same time, I'm very uncomfortable taking that from our own Industrial Development Corporation.
I think it's important to point out too that, we joined Commerce Lexington, which is a 9-county partnership for this very same reason, to market the region for economic development and industry. Now that's, I think it was 37,500 last year and the same this year, so.
have we gotten anything from that?
Not yet. They're still, I think, working on branding and marketing and that kind of stuff.
But we will receive reports on that in terms of some of the metrics that are being measured and how many hits on the website and some of the different, we will get good data from that investment that we made.
I guess with David and I's experience in industrial development, and I understand regional development, and I think it's a good idea. The problem that concerns me is you're talking about, according to the interlocal agreement, getting 7% back as a partner. That's what our percentage would be.
7.5%.
Yeah, okay, so when these industrial deals happen, the state comes in and you abate taxes for 15 and 20 years. So your property tax and your occupational tax are normally abated for 15 to 20 years. So you're gonna end up splitting net profit tax that's local between 5 governments. That's a very small amount of money.
The question is, though, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the question to that is, how many years down the road is that Could that be 10, 15, 20 years down the road, you get
No one knows.
7.5%?
You don't know. It's,
And that just, see, there's no end.
I'm just
That's the
pointing out
bottom.
facts here. That's
Yeah.
all I'm doing.
There's no
It's up to
bottom
you
to
all.
it. It's,
Let me be totally transparent. A greater concern that I have while doing the regional thing, whatever, my greater concern is with all that has been invested, you were talking about our IDC, with all that's been invested in our industrial parks, I don't want us, and I've told them this, and they didn't like it in the meeting, I don't care, I've been thrown out of better places than this. I've told them in the meeting that I would be concerned about us competing with ourselves. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
If we go all out in this regional thing, what about a potential project over in Scott, which is where it would go? I don't think the land's been purchased yet, has it?
No.
But a potential project there, is it going to compete against what we are working for every day, where that $500,000 is to go? So you know where I stand and how I feel. I'm not saying no. I'm just saying we need all of that on the table so that we know if we commit, what we're committing to, and what the possible return is or is not. Okay, let's move forward. Any further discussion?
So is our only option,
Good question.
in terms of where we go from here, is our only option tonight to take money from our industrial park that the group thinks is getting ready to receive that July 1st?
That's correct, because when we did the budget, we allocated $500,000 for industrial development, and that was given to RIDC because that was the priority. If you all want to earmark another $500,000 for this, you can do that. That's an option as well. So it's, we budgeted
but
$500,000.
not this 500,000.
Without taking the
Right.
500,000
If you
from
wanted to add
RIDC.
500,000, you have that option as well. But again, we kind of have that Friday deadline to wrap this up so we can put everything together in time for our first meeting in June.
So back to the question of, is our only option tonight to take money from Richmond Industrial Development Corporation if we approve
This
this
order.
order?
That's correct, the way the order
The
is
way that it's written now,
That-
we have to take money from
that's right.
ourselves
Yeah.
with a
So
group
then,
that is expecting
how would
it.
we change it
Yeah.
if we did decide we wanted to take it out of the budget?
Mayor, I'll take your direction on that. I mean, because really,
You'd have to have another meeting.
I mean, if I just stick $500,000 in the budget,
It's
I
got to
need
come
you all's
from
approval
somewhere.
on it. I can't just stick it in there
It's got to come from
and three of you not like it and two of you like it. That's not my job. My job is to set the table for you all to decide.
Well,
So
look-
if it pleases the body, we could come up with another, well,
Where are you gonna take it from?
we could vote on it prior to the budget in June, I guess, is what we could do. Because we don't meet again until June 11th.
When is the
Didn't
first
understand
reading for the
What did you mean,
budget?
excuse me one second,
Oh.
what did
June
you mean by
11th.
that? Say that again.
The only thing I can think of is prior to the first reading of the budget ordinance on June 11th, we could have a order written to earmark $500,000 to go towards this regional development group.
Okay.
And if you all approved it at that time, Sharon and I would tweak the budget before the reading of the ordinance on down the line of the agenda.
Let's get them taxpayers in here and ask them.
But understand, again, I want to be clear, I'm setting the table here. I was never given any direction on this by anybody.
Yes, that's right.
So we put in $500,000 to Richmond Industrial Development Corporation because they are working on some land options right now. And we felt that was the priority.
Okay,
So it's a pleasure of you all.
all right.
So if we vote no tonight on taking the money from Richmond Industrial Development Corporation, and we don't want to do that, we still have an opportunity, I forgot the date you said, in June, when we are going to do the first reading of the budget, where this conversation could happen to see if there's $500,000 in that budget for the regional partnership that doesn't have to come from
But we must
RIDC.
get it done before the time the first reading of our budget.
Yeah, in the agenda, it would have to come before the first reading of the ordinance, so we would know moving forward to put that 500,000 in there or not included.
Whew, okay.
And if it pleases the group, that's what we can do, I guess. You got any other ideas?
Just to clarify, I believe it's correct what we're saying, but I believe it's the inverse of the wording. So here, it would be 500,000 would go to this project, and then in the next budget meeting, it would be putting 500,000 for RIDC.
It could go either way.
No,
But as it's written here.
No, this, you take this money out of this tonight, so it goes back to our industrial authority board. We vote that down, not to take that money away, and then in June, if you decide you want to put $500,000 back in there, it would go from wherever you decide to bring it out of the budget.
If this is not voted, the money stays where it is,
Right.
which is with our IDC.
That's right.
If we want then to put money into the regional project, we will have to vote to put money into the regional project.
From the
Right.
general
I
budget
understand.
somewhere.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's
That's
move
right.
forward then. I'll move the previous question myself. Are we ready to vote?
Commissioner Newby,
No.
Commissioner Brewer,
No,
Commissioner Cole,
No.
Commissioner Goble,
No.
Mayor Bly.
No. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thanks to each of you.
So if I may,
Yes, sir.
is it the consensus of the group that at the first meeting in June, prior to the reading of the ordinance, the first reading of the budget ordinance, that we have an order for $500,000 for the regional economic development?
With the understanding that we're asking you and the finance director
That's right.
to try to find it.
Okay.
You understand why I
Yeah,
said it like
no,
that?
I do, and,
Yes.
yeah,
In somewhere in our revenues.
Right.
If we can cover it, because this comes directly from our budget, not any extra funds. Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to clarify. So this same order would come to you to whether to join the application or not? Because right now, it is a vote not to join the application, but purely because of the funding source. Okay.
Yes, sir, because of the funding source. Thanks, Mr. Attorney. Order 24-70, order of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Richmond, Kentucky, authorizing exercise of option to purchase. Mr. Attorney, please.
Whereas the City of Richmond Police Station located at 1721 Lexington Road has outgrown its facility due to city service area continuing to expand. And whereas an option contract on acreage with an ideal location and sufficient infrastructure to be ideal for site development has been obtained, and whereas the city now wishes to exercise its option to purchase and move forward with the acquisition of the property. Now, therefore, be it ordered, the mayor is authorized to sign any and all documents necessary to facilitate the exercise of the option contract and purchase the acreage. This order shall be effective immediately upon adoption by the Board of Commissioners of the City of Richmond, Kentucky.
Thank you, sir. That's order 24-70. May we have a motion, please, bring the floor for discussion and approval.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Cole, Commissioner Newby. Is there discussion?
you all have approved this, but I brought it back to you because we finally have the easement to the tower approved, and also the moving of the fiber optics. So with this approval tonight, we'll start the closing process on the property, and we want to get that done prior to the end of this fiscal year because it's in the budget. That little piece of property has been no small feat.
Yes. It's coming, Chief.
Yeah.
No, I know. Any further discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please.
Commissioner Brewer,
Yes.
Commissioner Cole,
Yes.
Commissioner Goble,
Yes.
Commissioner Newby,
Yes.
Mayor Bly.
Yes, thank you. This is the public comments period. Anyone come tonight for the purpose of making comments from the audience? And let me say that it's good tonight to see Amy Scarborough represent the university. And always good, Amy, always. Anyone? All right, there being none, Mr. City Manager, please.
I just have one item. We're in the process of assessing storm damage Monday and today, and we're getting estimates. We had dugouts blown over, fences that were torn apart, and a bathroom that lost electric. So that's our main priority right now. That's all I have for the group.
All right, thank you, sir. Commissioner Goebel?
I have nothing, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Brewer?
One thing, I've had some people call me and saying that Rumpke's not doing their pickup, bulk item pickup. So if we could contact them and see if that's true or not, and maybe follow up on that.
We have had some problems, and a lot of it has to do with college kids moving out this time of year and everything getting piled up on the corners, and Rumpke already picking up their one time for the month. So, yeah, we're working through those issues. Wanda's very aware of it.
And the other thing is, I apologize for getting up and so much. I stepped off a ladder and sitting in this chair, twisted my back, and it's kind of hard sitting on. I should have got Ed over there to help me with that ladder, but he wouldn't come over. So I apologize for getting up and leaving the meetings, but it's nasty.
Yeah, do what you need to do.
But that's all I got, Mayor.
All right. Let me say this about, Wanda, are you the point person for making contact with Rumpke? I want to give a positive comment. They kind of messed up a little bit. Two things. One, they actually deposited the cart, the can, two properties that I own that have not been occupied for over 10 years. So there was no service there, but they dropped the cans. I called them because then they started sending the bills. I said, And then they actually missed mine, which was paid. Can was out there, and they said it might have been because all of them on that street and whatever it was, but they were very nice. That's what I wanted to get at. They were nice in resolving the matter, sent the truck. They said they have some kind of a checklist. Even if they miss you, then they come back with that checklist, and they did. And the gentleman even, because I stood in the door and waved at him, he even came over and apologized that they'd missed and blah, 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 blah. So let me just add that to the comments. And I told her on the phone that I appreciated how kind she was. We just want to get the matter resolved. So just in
Also,
case.
I would like to say that Francis with Rumpke emailed me last week and said they were aware of all the bulk issues, and they were sending 2 trucks, I think it was, with 3 guys, and they sent me a map of all the routes, and they told them to stay in Richmond until they got all the bulk cleaned up.
Super, super. As I said, there'll be some issues, and we're still trying to work all the bugs out, but that they're willing to resolve, which is what they stood here and told us more than once. That's the good thing about it. And so there are, I'm sure, some things that need to be addressed. Commissioner Newby?
No, I just want to thank Josh and the street department for taking care of all the calls that I've given you pertaining to Rumpke. But no, I don't have anything.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Cole?
Yes, I just have 2 things. I had some citizens reach out at Bluegrass Acres, and the city manager and I talked about it a little bit, but I just wanted to see, they had some concerns about potholes and maybe needing to do some repaving and
Yeah.
just to get some folks out there to take a look at it and see what we can do or what's possible.
It's on our list, but Josh and I haven't had a chance to get out there yet. We
Okay.
will.
Okay, just keep
Yeah.
it on the list if you will.
We will.
And the second thing, and my goodness, I hate to bring up the budget again, but when we had our work session the other day, we didn't talk about the fact that Micron, one of our industries here in town, is going to be closing. When David and I met with that group a month ago, they're going to basically shut down soon. And my fear is that we didn't factor in for the loss of those payroll tax funds in that budget. So I don't know if we did or not, but I
We
just.
did. The opening of Menards offset that.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
Because we had budgeted a significant increase in payroll tax, and one of the things we budgeted that increase on was Menards, but hopefully it'll,
Yeah, and like Sharon said, those increases, they're still very conservative.
Yeah.
We come in way ahead every year.
okay.
I say that, and we'll be tight next year, but I expect we'll be fine.
One of the things at the Industrial Development Luncheon that was good when Micron asked me to announce that they would be closing, the good thing was, you talk about networking in its purity.
Yeah.
They
Some
did.
other industries and companies that were there approached the Micron folks and said, we're gonna have in the next month, 2 months, 3 months, we're gonna have some job openings, and maybe we can hire some of your people. So hopefully, that will even offset some of those losses too, that we can keep them in the payroll tax system.
Yes.
And perhaps still get something up. But yes,
Yes.
indeed, that's one of the things we will have to watch here.
There's some
Probably
really good-
Not only with Micron.
Yeah, there's some really good folks that work out there, and that's been around, an industry that's been around for a long time, so.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, indeed. Anything else? All right. I'll say this, since you won't, they're coming right along with that light out there on.
They are, yes. I get
Yeah,
happy
they're
when I
really
see
doing
that.
that, and
Yes.
the lanes and all that, they're working diligently, so that'll be a good thing. That's a good, safe thing for us. All hearts and minds clear? Let's see, that's all of that. All hearts and minds clear. No further discussion. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Commissioner Cole,
Second. Second.
Commissioner Goble, Madam Clerk, please.
Commissioner Cole,
Yes.
Commissioner Goble,
Yes.
Commissioner Newby,
Yes.
Commissioner Brewer,
Yes.
Mayor Blige.
Yes, and thank you, Madam Administrative Assistant, for filling in tonight as the acting clerk. What? Oh, yeah.